Hey Stitch Cuties, I'm Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and in this video tutorial we are going to open our first box of Christmas gnomes for the embroidery machine, and we are going to get started. So in this tutorial I'm going to go kind of in depth as to how I prep everything for the first block, and you can apply that to all of the blocks you're making in this block of the month. So of course on top you have a card on how to reach us, a little thank you from us. That's me, that's my mom Julie, the designer of the quilt. So, oh my gosh, I hate to rip the tissue, but I gotta. It's so fun. It's like a present. Boom, open, and everything is gonna pop out. Look at all the fun stuff you have. First off, you have the fun little candy. These are after dinner mints. They're kind of my favorite. I eat them all the time in the office. You have your background fabric that we're gonna press and starch, or starch and iron in a moment. And then we have a whole bunch of laser cut applique pieces. They're huge. You have tons of them. I'll show you how I prep those. First, I want to show you everything that's in your first box. You get a lot of extra papers. So the first thing that you have is your binder, the front, the back, and the binder edge. So I'm going to show you what to do with that. We don't include a binder, obviously, in the box. It doesn't fit, but just pick up a standard binder, and you're going to put this in. So a tip for doing this is if you lay it out flat, it makes it much easier to slip your papers in, just like so. And then for the binder edge, you do need to cut it. So off camera, I'll trim that and put it in my cute little binder. I mean, how adorable is that, right? And you can stay nice and organized. So what you'll do, you can use scissors or you can use your rotary. I'll just use scissors because we're here, right? I'll be quick. So you're just gonna cut along the edge. You want to make it fit in the side. Again, a rotary cutter would be much faster, or if you have a paper cutter in your sewing space or craft space right there. And you want to cut all the way to the edge because that gives you your scallop, right? And then cut like so. This is a kind of boring intro for the video, I'm sorry, but we're gonna prep these together. It looks so cute when it's in there though. It's worth it. It's adorable. And what's so nice is you're gonna stay so organized. I'll show you. And I have a binder over here of another block of the month. I can show you when it's all filled, how nice it feels. So again, I have this laying out flat so that I can easily slide this in. If you try and do it while it's closed, you will not be able to slide that in. So see how easy? So now you have your binder, adorable, that you're gonna fill your pattern in every month. They come 3-hole punched, and then your placement guide, of course, is not 3-hole punched. So I'm just gonna open this up and we'll review all the goodies that are in your pattern. I'm gonna move my hoop out of the screen for a second. There we go. Boop. So what you have, of course, in here at the block 1, you're gonna have at the beginning of that pattern all kinds of information. And take a minute to read through it. It's helpful. So we tell you what you're going to get every month in the block of the month, what's going to be in the box. And then we answer FAQs about like how to log in, change your password, download your files, if you need to update your address or your payment information. Excuse me. And then we give you information on how to contact us. Very easy. Visit our website, click support. You can also just email us orders@stitchesoflovequilting.com. Do know we all go home and sleep. So if you email us at midnight, you have to wait till morning to hear back from us. And then we give you an idea of all the recommended notions. You're going to see these notions in every video. Of course, the Steady Betty, which I have under here. I love having that immediately in front of my embroidery machine. It just makes it so simple to take my hoop and put it right here, iron everything, and put it back on. Now, one idea I had the other day for myself, because I stand at my embroidery machine, and I was kind of thinking, oh, okay, I'm getting older, I wish I could sit. So I'm sort of thinking about maybe an L-shaped table where I would be able to sit and then have my Steady Betty like to the left or to the right. We'll see what I do. I'll keep you updated. The suspense will get you. And then we have Sulky Tear Easy Stabilizer. We use that in the hoop of our machine. You can see it right here. I have it in the hoop. It's great because it does tear nice and easy, but it's also very stable, and it holds your project while you're working on it really nicely in the hoop. Then you're gonna have your ruler that we trim each block with. I'll show you that in a moment. It's 10.5 inches. And what I love about that is the size of your block, and it makes it so easy when you go to trim. So you'll use this as a guide to make sure you have your ruler in the right place on your fabric, and then you'll actually trim using that ruler. And I'll talk about the placement guide and stuff in a moment. So then, of course, I talked about this in the starter video, but you have your 40 weight thread kit. We love the Sulky 40 weights. And then I just put a pre-wound bobbin in. I don't make my bobbins for my embroidery machine. Your regular needles, I love these. They're super inexpensive, but highly effective and great in your machine. They're organ needles. And I believe by default, all brands of machines actually come with organ needles, I think. Don't quote me on that, but they're great. They work on all brands. And then scissors, love my scissors. You'll see these in every video. And then we do have backing available. It's adorable, and I highly recommend grabbing that. And then we go to our pattern. So let me tell you how the pattern is set up for the Christmas gnomes. If you've been in our block of the month, you're familiar with our patterns. I did make some slight changes to the format with this, updated it a little bit, and I think you'll like it. I put a table in now like I do with the sewing machine patterns. So every month you're gonna have a pattern cover. You're gonna have a close-up picture so you know what you're making. Do note that this block has buttons. The buttons are always held to the end in your finishing kit because you don't put your buttons on your quilt until after it's all pieced together, quilted, bound, and then you put your buttons on, okay? So you'll do that at the end. So what I do every time is read through my pattern and I organize my pieces. First off, make sure you have everything in your box. You have all your pieces, pattern, blah, 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 good stuff, right? Like it says. And then one of the first things we do is identify and number our applique pieces. Now, we're gonna notate when we have duplicates, and every time you see white, you're gonna have 2 pieces of that we're gonna double line. I'll show you that in the tutorial how we do it. It's very simple. So know when you're organizing your pieces, you're gonna number them, and you'll have 2 of number 2, 4, 9, 10, 15, and 16. Then you're gonna load your file onto your machine, and we'll put our fabric in the hoop. And what I do before I get started, of course, is organize my applique pieces in order of how they appear in the pattern. So I'm gonna make a little pile of pieces numbered 1 and 3. I'm gonna make a pile of 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 15, and 16, etc. And I put them off to the side. I'll show you that in a moment. And that just makes it really easy and tidy in your workspace so that you can just follow along with your machine and not have to think about it again. And then for me, off on the right, I organize my threads, which you'll see in a moment. And so this is how I've updated the pattern. Instead of having like all the words written out, you're just following what the machine does. So I just turn that into a table like I do for our sewing machine applique patterns. I hope you like it. So you're just gonna put your thread off to the side in this order because this is the order that your machine is gonna stitch for you. And then I notate what's being stitched just so you're aware of what to expect. And then last but not least, in the pattern, we are going to trim our block and get excited for the next one to come. So what you're gonna wanna do now, and I'll do this off camera, we'll come back together after we've both done our prep work, you are going to starch and iron this. Now, I talked about starch in the starter video. I'll talk about it again. You can use Best Press, you can use any kind of starch you want. I just happen to have Faultless. I typically just, honestly, I do a curbside pickup at Walmart to get my starch, and I buy about 10 bottles at a time because I love starch that much. So when I starch it, I'm gonna starch it till it's fairly damp. I like mine to be really sturdy fabric, and I think it stabilizes the fabric. It almost turns it into like a paper, which is what I want it to do. And that way, when I go to trim it and store it after I've got it completed, it just sits in my nice little container, and it makes it really easy when we go to piece the quilt at the end to have this equally starched is how I'm gonna starch the piecing fabrics in this. So we'll do that. And then you're gonna open up your giant bag of pieces. This is a fun block of the month because all the pieces are so big. Well, with the exception of like the doorknob. So let me move that aside and I'll show you how I label my pieces. So your placement guide is what I just want to make sure to point this out to you. Your placement guide is right side up, right? Like you're going to see your fabric. This page right here is your reversed applique pieces. This is if you were actually going to trace and make more pieces, you would use these because they're reversed. It also is helpful when you're numbering because since it's reversed, you put fusible side up, fabric side down. And so you're just going to simply put your pieces in place. I do want to point out on the 2 little candies on either side of the house, they're exact opposites of each other. So do make sure to lay your pieces out properly on 11, 17, and then all your bow pieces, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, and 20, and make sure you label those properly because they are, like I said, mirror images of each other. And then when it comes to the white pieces, you are gonna have 2 of those. So 9, 15, 4, 2, and then 10 and 16, you're gonna have duplicates of all of those, okay? So go on and label your pieces and we'll come back together in just a moment. See? Okay, so now I have all of my pieces laid out, numbered. They're snipped free from their little casing that they come in. And now I'm gonna organize it. So in this tutorial, I'm gonna show you how I organize my pieces. In the next 2 tutorials for this block of the month, I'm not gonna do that probably because you'll get it. So first up, the first time pieces come into play is step 8, and the machine is gonna stitch numbers 1 and 3. So I'm gonna take piece number 1, my chimney, piece number 3 is my big house, and I'm gonna lay this off to the side. By the way, it's okay to kind of like flop them over if you need to. For me, I'm gonna do that so I have space on my workspace, and I set it to the side. Up next, the order of appearance of pieces is 2, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 15, and 16. So let's just start at the beginning. 2, it's one where there are 2 pieces of it. And then 4, dun, 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 this is 2 pieces of my little house, or my roof, I should say. And then 5, this is a big part of the door. And then 8 is my heart. 9 is the long stick for one of my candies. And then number 10, which is a circle, there's 2 of them. Numbers 15, 2 of them again, and 16. And again, I note that there are 2 of everything for you in the pattern. And I'm gonna set this to the side. Next up, what appears is 6, 11 through 13, and 17 through 19. I do wanna show you a little thing I did on my 2 little twirlies. You can see I drew little arrows pointing up for myself. What I did is put it on my placement guide, make sure I had it, you know, the right direction, because these are not like a perfectly symmetrical little windmill. And I just gave myself an arrow up so I don't have to worry with like turning my piece over and over until I like hit the jackpot, right? So piece number 6 is the door. Then we're gonna do 11, 12, 13. So 11, 12, 13, and then 17 through 19. So 17, 18, 19 is my next pile. And then last but not least will be 7, 14, and 20. So I'm gonna set these off to the side. There we go. And so now I'm going to starch my fabric, and I'll show you how much starch I use. Again, this is totally a personal opinion about the starch level. If you've never starched your fabric when you go to piece a quilt, try it. You might like it. But what you wanna do is stay consistent throughout the whole thing. So see, I get it pretty darn wet. There you go. I'm putting my hand up here so I don't spray my applique pieces. And then you are going to, I just iron it dry. So I'm gonna iron this dry, and then I'm gonna put my threads off to the side. So make sure you've done that. And then we're gonna be totally all prepped and ready to go. Now, when you're doing this, by the way, maybe use your large iron to iron your background fabric. This, by the way, is a cute little Cricut iron that I use when I'm ironing my applique pieces in the hoop. I love it. It's super cute and little, feels great to hold. It turned off, which is why it's not ironing. It does have auto turn off, not my favorite thing, but what can you do? The Oliso M3 Pro is another great iron to use in the hoop of your machine. So I'm gonna press this dry. I'm gonna line my threads up in order of appearance. So when I come back, you'll see all my cute little threads in order on the side, and then we're gonna get stitching. Yay! Okay, so you can see all my pretty threads lined up. I have my background fabric pressed dry. I'm gonna fold it in half, right sides together, and then one more time in half, so it's in quarters now. And I've gone on and stitched the first step on my embroidery file, which is a little T right in the center of my hoop. And all that is gonna be used for is to tell us where to line up. So I'm just gonna put it lined up with one quadrant of that T and unfold it. And now we're going to connect it into place. I'm gonna use my cute little sew tights. You can use 3M transport tape, whatever you like, and you just go right up at the edge of the fabric, up there, And I'm gonna do one little bit down here at the bottom. And again, make sure you're being nice to the stabilizer. You don't wanna like push and pull on the contents of your hoop. So this is secured in place. We're going to use white thread until we get to all of our thread color changes. So just load that white thread and you're good to go for a bit. And the first thing that's gonna stitch now is going to be a line at the top, the line at the bottom, and of course the house piece, which is number 3, and then number 1 is gonna stitch. So what we're going to be doing is building our applique unit layers, if you will, layer by layer in the hoop of our machine. So let's get started. Alrighty, so we have our first round of applique outlines. You can go in and remove your sew tights or your tape or whatever it is you use to hold your fabric in place because it is secure now. And so we're gonna iron our pieces in place. I'm gonna turn my hoop sideways because it fits on my Steady Betty nicely. So just know, unfortunately, you're gonna see me iron on sideways. There's just not enough space for me to easily do it with such large pieces in my hoop the way I have my little station set up. So we are going to put our pieces in place. We're gonna put piece number 1 down first. And it's a perfect fit as always. All of your pieces, you're never gonna need to like push and pull any of your pieces. They're always the exact size of where you're putting them in. And again, a reminder for how to get the backing off of your pieces easily is just simply put fabric side up, crimp it down, and the back releases right away, and you have a little spot to pull it. And so here's our cute house, our little blue gnome house. And on a big piece like this, just make sure, especially the sides are what's really gonna be visible, that you have them perfectly lined up. That looks great. A good thing in your workspace, of course, is to have really good lighting. That helps a lot. It's really easy to see the white thread on this blue background fabric though. I would say sometimes, a lot of times when you have like a white background, it might be harder to see that white thread. There we go. And I am just pressing. There we go. And now, there we go. You can see it doesn't take very long for the fusible to adhere. There we go. And normally I never glide my iron on an applique piece, but it works nicely on this large of a piece. And I am just gonna make sure I have the whole thing pressed. So there you go. Now we're going to put this back on. Our machine is gonna give us our next round of applique outlines, which actually is a fair amount of pieces we're gonna iron on in the next step. Okay, so now we have a whole nother round of applique outlines. And when it comes to ironing down your pieces in your hoop, you're always gonna go in numerical order, okay? So first up, number 2, there are 2 again of all the white pieces. So you're simply just gonna iron 1 in place. And then you put the second one right on top. There we go. Just like so, it gives you a nice crisp white. Now we have our roof, number 4. There we go. And with a big piece like this, I just start at one side or else in the center, and then just let it fall right into place. There we go. Oh, that looks wonderful. So with a piece like this, what I'm gonna do is put some heat down there, down here, and in the middle, and then I'll follow up on the sides. That way, we're not wiggling it, everything's staying perfectly in place. There we go. And now, same thing, white one just goes right on top. There we go. And put it right here. And let it fall into place. Perfect. And I'm just gonna repeat the same process of giving it a little tap here, little tap there, tap in the center, and then we'll just go down the sides. Perfect. Now we're gonna put a door on. How cute. Sorry, you guys, my sleeves, they just keep coming down. They're driving me nuts. I need to roll them up, I think. I'm rolling in my sleeves. Alrighty, and now we're putting our door in place. Make sure you have your arch nice and lined up. Side to side, and the bottom line is gonna be perfectly level. There we go. Perfect. And now our little hearts. Just love the little hearts on the house. It's so cute. There we go. Perfect. And now we just have white pieces left. They're all double lined. I'm gonna move my iron, there we go. So for number 9, that's up first. And this is where it matters that you're doing it in the numerical order from smallest to largest number, because in some places you have over and underlap, and this is an example of that. There we go. And the second piece. There we go. And now our 2 circles, number 10, the circles are perfect circles, so there is no right or wrong direction for up, which is nice. There we go. It kind of looks like a white stop sign right now. There we go. And then we're gonna repeat the same over here with pieces 15 and 16. I'm having static. You can't see off the camera, but as I'm peeling the paper, it's sticking to my hand, which is funny. There we go. Give that guy a little press into place. And then the second piece right on top. You can see, like, see how you can see the dots through that if we weren't double lining it on a light color like white? There we go. And now, last piece of this step are our 2 pieces of number 16. So you can see we're just building from the bottom up in layers. So all the pieces we can do in each layer, we do. And that's how you're gonna do. This applies to all the blocks you're gonna make. And you can see with the pattern, it's just so simple to just follow along and let the machine do the work for you, right? So this is what your hoop should look like right now. We're starting to have a house. So we'll continue on for the next round of applique outlines. Alrighty, so we have some applique outlines to fill in with some pieces. So first up will be piece number 6. This is the center of our door. Fun little textured yellow fabric. Put that right in place. And then here's where you're gonna be really happy you have your little arrows. So up for me, because I have my thing sideways, is this way. So just make sure my arrows are facing up. And this little guy goes right in place. And the edge is gonna line up perfectly with the edge of your white circle. So just wiggle it into place and then tap right down. Look how cute. Oh my gosh, adorable. Now we're gonna build the bottom of our bow, which is pieces 12 and 13. There we go. And now 13, the top of our bow. This is just so adorable, you guys. I am so excited about this quilt. I need it in my house. On the bow, I would have drawn myself an arrow too. That would have been smart. But actually, if you look at the way the pieces appear, let me show you this little tip. A lot of times on the placement guide, I didn't do it with the white just because of the space on the paper. But like this right here, your laser cut piece actually lines up exactly over that. So you had them all right side up. So if you number that way, it's facing the right way, if that makes sense. You don't have to draw an arrow on those. Same with these, they're facing up as well, but draw the arrow. Hope that makes sense. If not, I apologize. And then number 17, right over here. Basically what I'm saying is I try to put the pieces on your paper, and I'm gonna turn this so I can see it better, in the same way that your pieces are actually cut so that you don't have to try and like twist pieces around or anything like that when you're trying to number them. All right, so this is perfectly lined up. And we give it a press. And then we are ironing on number 18. All right. I feel like I'm ironing backwards because I turned my design the other way. And for years, I've always pointed it the other way, but I just wanted to be able to see better. So that's kind of funny. Isn't it funny how we like have a little set routine of how we do something? And if we change it even just a little bit, we're like off kilter. I always think that's funny. I am definitely, by the way, a creature of habit. I love spreadsheets. I like to do things the same way over and over. Okay, so this is how your little house is coming along. We have one more round of applique outlines, and all that's gonna be is the two little centers of our bows and a doorknob. Okay, so let's put our last three pieces in place. First up is our doorknob, number 7. Cute little orange doorknob. There we go. And then piece 14. There we go. And it's funny, this is a blossom fabric, and my little bow ended up with 0 blossom on it. That's funny. And this one has a little bit of the blossom on it. That's what's fun about random, you know, when the design is like a random thing, it's fun to see how it's gonna look. And then this is right in place. So now you are ready to have your machine do all the cool stuff for you. Let me set my iron aside. So what you're gonna do now, and I'm going to just talk you through the thread color changes that you're gonna do, and your machine is gonna do all of this for you. You don't need to take your hoop on and off the arm of your machine. From here on out, you're gonna leave it on until we're ready to trim it. So you're gonna leave white on for one more step because the white parts are going to be stitched. And then the order that we're gonna go in is 1095, 1045, our butterfly gold, our pumpkin pie, and yes, your machine is gonna say 1168, but do use your pumpkin pie, that's the better orange. And then your true red, and last but not least is avocado. So go through all of your thread color changes on your machine, and then you and I will come back like that to trim our block. Alrighty, everything is stitched. It looks so good. Let's do a close-up from top to bottom. It looks so good. Look at that perfect stitching. I love it. So now I want to give you some tips about trimming your block. So we're going to take away our hoop. And when I'm trimming it, I do like an initial pull of my stabilizer out. Before you trim it, it's good to pull all of it out. I am filming, so I'm just pulling some of it. But you would want to take a minute. A lot of times what I do is just go to the TV and I put on something good on Netflix, probably Great British Bake Off, because I watch that on repeat all the time. And I pick out all of my stabilizer. If you don't pull all your stabilizer out, like let's say you left this amount, your quilt is gonna crunch. A little tip on getting it out, just score it a little bit with your scissors. Get your nail or else your scissors under there. Don't cut your fabric, of course. And then start pulling. So you're gonna pull all of your stabilizer out all the way. So boop, 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 pretend all of my stabilizer is out and I'm ready to trim. So what I do, because this is on a dark fabric, normally what I would do is put it on my light pad and use my placement guide and my ruler and line it up. However, even with a light pad, this fabric's so dark, you're not gonna like really be able to see through it very well, as in like not at all. So what I do is put some tape on my ruler in some key places. Let me show you. So I'm gonna turn it sideways because again, that's just what fits in my workspace and in the screen. So this is that 10.5 inch trim it ruler. It is to me a must have for trimming this. It just makes your life so much easier. So I have some pieces of tape and let me show you what I did to line that up. I put my ruler right in place and I gave myself a piece of tape that lines up with the bottom of the bow in the left side of my house. I did it where it lines up with the bottom of the bow and the right side of the house. Of course, this block is easy because the house is exactly at the bottom line for trimming. And then I gave myself one little piece of tape, which actually I put on a little crooked. So I'm gonna peel that up and place it a little better. I'm doing it just under the chimney where it's gonna touch the bottom of the chimney and then lay down straight. And then you can see I just did 2 pieces of tape at the angle at the top. What's really funny, and this was not on purpose, the point kind of comes right into the center of this circle. So that's kind of funny. So now you're ready to line this up on your block. So let me move this aside and I'll show you how you line it up. So just put this at the bottom line and let's get that pulled up just a bit for you. And you can see, first off, this white line that's stitched at the top is gonna line up with the top of your ruler. And so I have this, and you can see I'm gonna put my little tape where it touches the bottom of my bow, isn't it, the left side of the house. My bottom line is perfectly straight across the house. And then my tape right here is lining up. Oh, look, I taped this one actually on the house where it lines up with the bottom of the bow and the white pole, not the edge of the house. So just know what you're lining up with. I did it to that. And then you can see my chimney is lining up here on the left. And then my angle is lining up and my little point of my house just happens to be in that perfect circle. So this is now in position and I can use my rotary cutter and trim my block. What I would do is do one side and then the bottom, and then I would turn it, reposition it, and continue trimming. So then you are completely done after you trim it. You've pulled away all your stabilizer and this block is totally ready to store in a safe place. I love to get those, I think they're like maybe 2 inches or 2.5 inches tall. And I believe they're 12 or 14 inches square. And they're just clear little storage things that I get from Michael's. I always use a coupon when they go on sale. And I have about a dozen of those. And I have a block of the month going in each one. It's so nice to store those and they stack up nicely, like in a closet or in a shelf or something like that. So that every month you can put this back and it'll lay flat and safe as you build your little collection until it's ready to put together at the end of the block of the month. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out, and happy stitching.